Hello and welcome to the Astrology Research Channel. I am Dr. Rajagopal. In this present series, we are going to deal with medical astrology. It's a subject of great interest to many people. It's also of great importance and useful to a large number of people, including the physicians. So let us get on with the presentation. The objective of this presentation is to give an introduction to the connection between the science of astrology and medicine, and to give an introduction to how diseases can be diagnosed using astrology. In the past, physicians used to work closely with astrologers to help finding out reasons for a patient's condition, as well as finding some suitable dates and times for preparation of medicines and administration of medicines. This video presentation is in no way intended to contradict the medical sciences, their methods of diagnosis, or the medicines administered by them. This presentation is only used to give an introduction to the science of astrology applied to medicine as in the ancient classical texts of astrology. In the third part, we will discuss about various disease predictions according to some of the ancient classical astrological texts. And then I will present you some case studies where I have analyzed certain horoscopes and found out that the diseases had clinical correlation. Then we will talk about the remedies as prescribed in the shastras for certain diseases. We have seen the various body parts represented by the rashis according to the Kalapurushangas. So the diseases associated with that part is also the disease associated with the particular rashi. So the table here you see shows the 12 rashis and various diseases associated with them. Like Mesha is representing the head of the Kalapurusha. So migraine, dizziness, injury to the head, etc. will be indicated by the Mesha Rashi. Rishabha Rashi is the throat. So vocal cords, spondylitis, throat diseases, etc. will be shown by Rishabha Rashi. Can be caused by an affliction to Rishabha Rashi and an afflicted planet in Rishabha Rashi. These things can happen. Mithuna represents asthma, TB, etc. Jataka represents depression, melancholy because it is a moon's Rashi. Heart disease, paralysis is represented in Simha. Simha is Sun's Rashi, Sun's lordship is there. So heart is also governed by Sun. In this way, you can see the various Rashis can talk or tell us the possibility of a disease. If the Rashi has got affliction, afflicted planets occupying it, or malefic planets occupying it, malefic lords occupying it, and various things can be determined. So I will leave around a minute here for all of you to read this table, because I have not read the entire table. We have seen in the last slide that certain diseases are indicated by the Rashis because of their association with the Kalapurusha Sanghas and their nature, because of their tattvas, whether they are Agni, etc. And we also know that planets, when afflicted, can cause disease to that particular organ. And also we know that planets have got some tattvas or gunas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha gunas. So a combination of the Rashi and the planet, when there is some affliction or when there is weakness or there is possibility of causing a disease, the diseases which can happen with that combination is indicated in this table. Example is that when Sun is occupying Mesha, it creates migraine. When Sun is occupying Makar Rashi, it can create indigestion. When Mars is occupying Tula Rashi, it can create stones in the kidney. When Mercury occupies Kanya Rashi, dysentery can happen. Prone to dysentery. When Mercury occupies Kadaka Rashi, sinus and cold can happen. I am leaving here a few minutes for you to read the table so that you can get an understanding of how combination of Rashis and planets can cause diseases, and diseases can be predicted using this combination. The chart of the previous slide is continuing here, giving Jupiter in the 12 Rashis, Venus in the 12 Rashis, Saturn in the 12 Rashis, Rahu and Ketu in the 12 Rashis, and the various diseases when they are placed in those respective Rashis. Jupiter in Kanya can cause jaundice. Venus in Vrishchika can cause weak uterus walls. Saturn in Dhanu Rashi can make the thigh bones weak. Rahu in Mithuna Rashi can create asthma, and so on and so forth. So I will again leave you some few seconds for you to read the. Now we will discuss some of the planetary combinations described in Vaidhanath Dikshita's Jataka Parijatam. There are many books which give about disease determination and planetary combination signifying some diseases. But most of these texts discuss the diseases as part of the discussion on the bhavas results. In Jataka Parijatam, there is a dedicated chapter for Rogadhyaya. That is the reason why I have selected this chapter. Interested listeners who are studying this subject of medical astrology can also refer to many other texts, Saravali and Brihat Parashara Shastra, Jataka Alangaram, and find here and there dispersed discussion on diseases. Jataka Parijata gives the combinations which I have shown in this slide as causing respiratory diseases and also diseases relating to the respiratory tract. So let us see Sun in Lagna aspected by Mars can create asthma and consumption. Consumption means kshaya, which is actually tuberculosis or anything very related, closely related to tuberculosis. Saturn conjunct Mandi in the 6th house with malefic aspect and devoid of any benefic aspect. This can also create asthma, consumption, and coughs. Moon in the 6th, Saturn in the 8th, malefic in the 12th. Lagna Navamsha Lord is also malefic. So he loses the sense of smell or the nose gets affected. Here you see the Lagna 6th house, 8th house and 12th house. This is where the afflicted planet gives the effect of the Dusthana and create a disease. In the discussion in Jataka Parijata, you will find that sometimes it is not really fitting to the principles which we studied about the tattvas. However, if you seriously reflect on it, you can find that the connections are somehow coming through the affliction of the planet in the Dusthana and the characteristics of the planet itself. The ones which are not really conforming to the principles which we discussed in the last two parts, we will consider it as the Agama knowledge or the knowledge passed down by the scholars. Now, the third bhava with Mercury, again third bhava itself is representing the thought and Mercury is representing phlegm also, although it's a balanced condition. Mercury's weakness or affliction can create an unbalance, so it can create throat afflictions. The third house again, a planet in debilitation, that is in its Nichasthan, aspected by a malefic. A debilitated planet is aspected by a malefic, which is it's badly afflicted. And it is also in the setting condition. Setting condition is astangada or combust because of its proximity to the sun. That causes throat disease. Mandi occupies the third house. Conjunct with another malefic planet. These are all various conditions for creating respiratory diseases as per Jataka Parijatam. Here we can see some combinations which affect sight, hearing and voice. Mars and Mandi conjunction in the third bhava, which we saw in the previous slide also. It will affect the ears and hearing. The previous slide shows that so we have possibility of throat afflictions there. Since the throat and the hearing organs are also connected internally, depending on the seriousness of the affliction to Mars and in the third bhava, you can get ears and hearing also affected. The third bhava, when it is occupied by a malefic and also aspected by another malefic, and the third lord is in a evil shashtyamsa, this will cause ear disease. We already said that what is shashtyamsa, which is the 1/60th part of a degree of a Rashi. And the third lord should be placed in a shashtyamsa which is krura, which is evil. And at the same time, malefics will be occupying the third bhav. At this condition, ear diseases can happen. Fourth and fifth houses occupied by malefics and moon is in Dusthana, which is 6, 8, or 12. The sight can get impaired. We have seen in the last part of our presentation that the unbalance of Vata, Pitta, Kapha gunas in the body will create some or other ailments. We also seen that what does Vata cause, what does Pitta cause, and what does Kapha cause. Typically, joint pains are here, and Vata related are joint pains. Here it is indigestion and heartburns, and here it is asthma or respiratory diseases, etc. We have seen it in the last part. So the combination of the Lord of the Lagna and the Lord of the sixth Bhava together with a Nicha Mercury or Saturn, with a debilitated Mercury or Saturn, will cause Vata complaints. The combination of the sixth house occupied by Sun, the Rogasthana occupied by a predominantly Pitta planet, and the Pitta planet is afflicted by a malefic Sun malefic conjunction, and the Sun gets, the sixth house also gets afflicted with the aspect from another malefic. So there are one Papagraha looking at the sixth house where Sun is placed with another malefic will create Pitta complaints. The Sun in Ayurveda or the 8th house, a malefic in the Marakasthana, a Papagraha in the Marakasthana, and Mars is weak in Shadvala, that means it will create Pitta related complaints. When the first lord and the sixth lord, or the Lagna lord and the Rogasthana lords, are together with Mercury, it causes Pitta related complaint. Now you see, when the Lord of Lagna and sixth bhava are together with a Nicha Mercury, with a debilitated Mercury, it causes Vata complaints. When it is with Mercury, not necessarily debilitated, then it becomes Pitta complaints, because Mercury has got all the three humors present in it. Now for Kapha related complaints, Mars and Mercury is in the Rogasthana, and they also occupy a evil Navamsha, means a Navamsha which is owned by a malefic and evil planet, or in a Dusthana of the Navamsha. And they are also aspected by Moon and Venus. Mars and Mercury are together in the sixth bhava, and they are aspected by Moon and Venus. Moon and Venus both are Kapha planets. So, and Mercury gets agitated, Mars gets agitated with these. Therefore, Kapha related complaints will come. These combinations now give the particular disease called enlargement of the scrotum. There's hydrocele and some other type of diseases which can make enlargement of the scrotum. In this, you can see that Rahu plays an important role. Rahu has influence on nervous system and genital system and all that, along with the others. Vata predominant planet with Rahu occupying Lagna, Mars and Saturn occupying Lagna with Rahu. Ayurvava occupied by Lagna Lord with Rahu and Mandi. Mandi is also an evil planet, it's an Upagraha, of course, it's an evil planet. Lagna is occupied by Rahu, Saturn, Mars, the same like here. Lagna is occupied by Rahu. Saturn, Mars together is occupying the 8th house. And Gulika is in the Trikona. See, the 8th house is having the Saturn and Mars combination. Lagna is occupied by Rahu. And Gulika is in 5th or 9th house. This means that there will be enlargement of the scrotum. The Lagna Lord's Navamsha Lord has connection with Rahu, Mars, Saturn and Mandi. All this creates enlargement of the scrotum, and actually the enlargement of the scrotum indirectly affects the sexual performance of the person, and other genital diseases can come. Here we are continuing with the points of imperfections in the generative organs. When the 6th Lord, Mercury and Rahu are together in Lagna, the text says as castration by one's own will happen. That means a person will prefer to remove his private parts by his own will. When 6th Lord Mercury and Rahu together are in the Lagna. In the original text is called a Lingacheda. Lingacheda means actually cutting off one's generative organ. The second combination here says when the 6th Lord is with Mars, 6th Lord and Mars are together, and it is not aspected by a benefic, then venereal diseases will happen. The 7th Lord is a Maraga Lord, is conjunct with Venus in the 6th house. That means 7th Lord, who is the Kalatra, 7th Lord is also Kalatrasthan. It's a Maraga Lord, also a Kalatra Lord. The Kalatra Lord and the Venus is in the Kalatra Karaka. So Venus is Kalatra Karaka. Venus is actually representing the wife. And the 7th Lord is representing the wife's house. These two together are afflicted in the 6th house. Means they are occupying a Dusthana. Then this person will be unable to satisfy the partner. That is what it says. Moon is in an Avamsha, which is a Jal Rashi. And Moon is conjunct with Saturn. Then also venereal diseases will happen. Okay. Now to check the infertility or the fertility of a person using his horoscope, the index called Bija and Kshetra Sphudha is used. Bija Sphudha is meant for males and Kshetra Sphudha is meant for female. The Bija and Kshetra Sphudhas are actually a computed value using Jupiter, Mars and Sun, etc. I am not giving the detailed calculation of Bija and Kshetra Sphudhas. Interested listeners can check it with some books, or Prashna Marga specifically gives computation of Bija and Kshetra Sphudha. The Bija means the sperm of the male, and the Kshetra is the field or the place where germination takes place or fertilization takes place. If any one of them is weak, then progeny will not happen. So during the marriage matching, etc., or after the marriage also, if somebody comes to look for childbirth, then it is better to check the Bija and Kshetra Sphudha of the couple. So if Bija falls in an even Rashi and Navamsha, or Kshetra falls in odd Rashi and Navamsha, then it can make a native infertile. If the Bija and Kshetra Sphudha, that means the particular longitude of the Bija and Kshetra has a malefic aspect, occupying a malefic place, and their affliction has to be carefully studied. If Bija and Kshetra are afflicted, then it is possible that there is no fertility in that. And if the Bija falls in an even Rashi but falls in an odd Navamsha, or vice versa for Kshetra, then it is possible that the fertility can be corrected by either treatment, spiritual or clinical. Similarly, if the malefic affliction is treatable by the other aspects on the malefic by other planets or Lagna Lord and other benefic planets, then also you can correct. But if all of them are non-correctable, or the affliction is also very high and the odd Rashis or even Rashi combination is also taking place, in which case most likely that the couple will not have a childbirth. Here, some combinations for mental illness is given. The previous slides talked about all the body parts only. We are talking about the mind. If the Lagna is the first part of Dhanus, the first Drekana of Dhanus, the Sun and Moon are in the Lagna or a Trikona, and Jupiter happens to be in the third house, the person will have some insanity. Similarly, if the Sun is in Lagna with a direct opposition to Mars, or Saturn is in Lagna with direct opposition to Mars, the native has mental illness. If you see here, the combination for piles is given. The Lagna Lord Mars and Mercury are in conjunction, and they are in an Anishta Bhava. Undecided Bhava, Anishta Bhava. Anishta Bhava is 6, 8, and 12. Aspecting the 6th house. It says that it should be in an Anishta Bhava aspecting the 6th house. And they are in the 12th generally. Then only they can affect the 6th. It will cause piles. The next combination talks about illnesses caused by abhijara. Abhijara means somebody else has done some black magic on you. Here the Lagna is aspected by 6th Lord and Mars is in the 11th. The Lagna should be a Charrasi. A similar combination of Mars in the 11th and aspect by 6th Lord can happen when the 9th house is Sthira or 7th house is Ubhayarashi also. And Lagna and Charrasi. Some Abhijara is with it. If a person is complaining about unknown illnesses and undiagnosable illnesses, and there is no other combination which shows what is the type of illness he is having, then we can generally conclude that due to some incantation by other Abhijara Tantra, or something has happened to him. Therefore, some remedial measures have to be done to clear the Abhijara. If you are finding this useful and enjoying this content, please don't forget to like it and add a comment. Thank you. Now I am going to present you a few example horoscopes. I have myself come across these horoscopes and examined them, and I have diagnosed certain diseases in the patient. and I have informed the patient that he is having such and such a disease. And it was proved right by the medical practitioners or clinically testing the patient. The disease has been discovered, or either this has been corroborated by the physicians. This shows that astrology can be of help in diagnosing the diseases. I'm not giving any particular details, date of birth, etc., and I'm not displaying a chart because it is extremely important for us to not to infringe the privacy of our clients. Therefore, we are not showing any of these things. I'm only giving a example reason how the disease has been diagnosed in a person. The first is the case of a 53-year-old lady. She was not feeling well for quite some time. She was feeling very inactive or feeling weak. She had some muscular pains, breathing difficulty and all. She could have gone to a doctor for any of this, but basically she wanted to know that I used to be very active earlier and something is not good, so I wanted to check whether my horoscope is anything is wrong with my horoscope. I examined the horoscope and found an afflicted Jupiter, Mercury in the Nicha with quite a few afflictions of the retrograde Saturn afflicting Lagna Lord and causing some of these textbook problems. So I diagnosed hyperthyroid and suggested a potassium diet for her. She later came back and told me that she had some thyroid problem and the doctor has told her hypokalemia is her problem and she has to take potassium diet. This one is a case of infertility. A young boy and girl, 30-year-old and 33-year-old husband. The question was about their childbirth. Actually, the parents of the boy brought the horoscope to me. I examined the horoscope and found Mars is debilitated. Fifth house is afflicted. The Scorpio is afflicted. Bija is afflicted. Bijasphuta is afflicted. So all pointing out to infertility of the boy. And then I checked out for the fifth house a Lord and his strength and other things that I found out that yes, it is possible for him to have a child. So I suggested some high protein diet, some dhanam and some arsa pradakshanam and also asked them to consult a doctor about it. Arsa pradakshanam is the circumambulation of the banyan tree. The girls are supposed to do it. I found out that the boys' parents were actually a little bit of, they are of the traditional type. They were trying to blame the daughter-in-law. I convinced them that the problem is boys' infertility and there is nothing wrong in it. Some people can get something according to their planets, according to their thing. But his Purva Janma Punya is good. Therefore, he will have progeny. So please go ahead and get the clinical remedy done and also give some dhanam, etc. You will be happy to know that now they have a 2-year-old girl. This is a case of a young boy. His performance in school was continuously deteriorating. So his parents came and asked me about his performance in school. They have not come about his health. Actually, they have come to find out whether his education will be good. On examination of the horoscope, I found that there is severe affliction to second and third house. Venus has got afflicted. Sun, who is the Netragara, is afflicted. So, and by examining carefully, I said he is nearly blind in the left eye, and that is the cause of his study getting affected, not anything else. So I suggested to the parents that you should go and check your eye. If required, go and get a surgery. Go and get his eye tested first. Ask him whether by closing one eye he is able to see the blackboard or not, and something like this. The parents came out later and informed me that what I said was correct. And they have now treated the eye, and the boy is back to school very nicely studying. This is a case of a young man. The case was about the parents bringing his horoscope to check his marriage prospects, whether they can now start looking for alliances or finding girls for him. As I examined the horoscope, I found an afflicted Mercury, an afflicted sixth house, malefic Jupiter, Kumbharashi badly afflicted, pointing out to the nervous system. So, with this intercorrelation of these afflictions and the Vata predominance, I have come to a conclusion that his nervous system and or the spinal cord nervous system has got some affliction. The same way, what has happened is his fertility was also weak. So, but his Purva Punya was good. His fifth house was good. So I suggested to the parents that he should have some treatment for restoring his fertility, because due to an affliction in the nervous system, his fertility is now gone down. Now you have not told me anything about he has any disease or not, but his nervous system or his spinal cord is definitely affected. That is the reason why his lower part of the body is getting affected. His genitals have got affected. The parents said that they were actually caught by surprise when I told. They said that he had a cancer of the spinal cord and he has already been treated for it and cured and he is recovered. And they thought that now that he is fine, they have come for looking for an alliance for his marriage. But they never realized that this affliction to the spinal cord could have affected his lower portion of his body and his genitals. So now that he's under treatment, and I think I have not been in touch with them for last 1 year or so. I don't know whether he has got married already. This is the case of a 32-year-old woman. The parents again have come to me asking about the possibility of her childbirth, because they were after marriage, they were waiting to see their grandchild, and they have not been able to see that any progress is there in the family front to this girl. So then I examined the horoscope. When I examined the horoscope, I found that this girl has got some stomach pains during menstrual period. With Mars and Moon and the specific locations, you can find out this. And Vata Kapha imbalance is there. Agni has become weak. So Ama accumulation is there. Saturn, Mercury, Rahu, all of them are influencing the Jupiter and the digestive system. The bile and pancreas is getting affected. So with all these, she is not able to conceive. So with a little knowledge what I have got about Ayurveda, I said you please go and consult a specialist in Ayurveda. But I suggest that Punarnava or Ashoka Samarishtam has to be given, and her Ama Kumala is to be removed, Agni has to be improved, and this Vata complaint which she has got, which is not allowing her fertilization to take place, has to be treated. And now, after a couple of years treatment, she is conceived. So you should be happy that horoscopes can reveal a lot of things about a person and help them in their difficulties. So far I have given you the principles of medical astrology, the various factors which we use for identifying and diagnosing diseases in a person using his birth chart, and also given you live examples of the thing. Now, there is one examination to be done when a disease is reported. Is the disease going to be fatal? Is it going to be chronic, incurable, or it can be cured? So a very careful analysis of the dasha periods, the sub periods, and whether the dasha period is the planet, the lord of the dasha period is a marga, or he is the sixth lord, or and they are Anishtasthana lords, or they are already afflicted lords. And very carefully this is to be done. And depending on the dasha period and the bhukti and antara of the planets within the dasha periods, the duration of the disease can be approximately judged how long is it going to be. Is it going to be very long drawn case of cure? Then Maraka Bhava lords, the 22nd the Rekana lord and the 64th Navamsa lord. These are very critical. These are death inflicting planets. The 22nd the Rekana lord. 22nd the Rekana falls in the 8th house actually. So the 22nd the Rekana lord. The 64th Navamsa lord. The 64th Navamsa from both Lagna and the moon. These are causing Maraka. These are all causing death. So, second and seventh lords Dasha Bhukti, 22nd Dekana lords Dasha Bhukti, when are they falling? Are they falling when this disease appeared? What could happen? How long is the Bhukti or Antara of the Dasha lord? This has to be very carefully analyzed. In the Tamil tradition, there are certain books which talk about which nakshatra will cause how long duration of a disease. That means when it talks about jwaram actually. Jwara means fever actually, but you can take any disease. So when the jwara appears on a particular nakshatra, how long it will be. And the Shastra also says that some nakshatras will not give any chance of recovery. So with all these 4 or 5 things, if somebody is coming up with a question of somebody admitted to hospital or having a disease, by using all this, the curability or incurability of the disease can be forecast. Now we will look at some of the remedies suggested by the science of astrology. It also applies to Ayurveda. For diseases caused by the sun, the bath water, when added with manasila or cardamom or jatamasi, it can give some relief. In the same way, baths, you can see on the left hand side column, the planets are given, and the right hand side column, some materials are given. So for Each of these planets, the bath suggested with the materials on the right hand side added to the bath water will give relief for those diseases which are caused by the planet. Now, when you examine the horoscope and then predict a disease or identify a disease, then we are going to pinpoint which is the primary planet responsible for his condition. And that primary planet has to be treated with this type of baths. If Mars has caused this problem, then Bilwa leaf, Jadamasi. For Jupiter, white mustard, Adimadaram, Yashtimadhu. For Venus, Kesaran Manashira. For Saturn, sesame oil, sesame seed. For Rahu, Gugul, buffalo horn. For Ketu, Darba leaves, sesame plant leaves, etc. This gives you a list of these items for remedial baths for diseases caused by afflicted planets. You can read them for a minute or so when I keep silent here, and then we can go ahead with the other remedies. Now the remedies for diseases can take the form of food or food additives. Our tradition, shastras, believe that food is the life giver. Therefore, the food itself is a medicine also. Annam hi budhanam jeshtam tasmat sarva aushadam uchyate. For all living beings, since the annam, the food is the most important item, the annam itself is called the medicine, is what the Taittiriya Upanishad says. Now, food nutrients, lack of food nutrients can cause some diseases. Lack of balance in the food nutrients can cause some diseases. Therefore, we have to keep a clear understanding of to maintain good health and also to overcome certain diseases. We need to select our food accordingly. For Saturn and Venus caused diseases, calcium is a must. So milk, curd, buttermilk, if required, some calcium supplements can be given. For Mercury caused diseases, greens, any green, spinach, coconut water. Similarly, bananas, oranges, potassium-rich foods are to be used. When Jupiter is conjunct or moon is exalted, you have tendency to increase the sodium in the blood. Therefore, reduce the salt in the diet. When Mars is afflicted by Rahu, you get phosphorus depletion. So take black gram, take rajma or green grams. Weak Mars, make sure to use iodized salt and add brinjals. If you are a non-vegetarian, you can use sea fish for a weak Mars. Sun and Saturn getting afflicted and connecting with each other, anemia can cause. problems. Therefore, add green vegetables in your diet. Depending on the position of the Mars, sulfur can be reduced in the thing. So cabbages has to be added. Saturn in Aries. When Saturn is in Aries, it is in a Neecha Rashi. So use a magnesium supplement. Eat almonds. Eat groundnuts. So the food itself has to be suggested by looking at the horoscope. So a good advisor, an astrologer, should be able to give a dietary advice to the people by seeing his horoscope. Dana and mantra are another type of remedy suggested by our Shastra. Dana is basically charities. How do charities help in alleviating diseases? The reason is that Dhanam will reduce your karma, past karma, nullify past karma, effect of past karma. Therefore, the diseases will be cured. Similarly, the planetary deities are there, the nakshatra deities are there as per the Shastras. Chanting mantras with devotion to the presiding deities will please the life-giving forces of the planet. Therefore, it will cure the diseases. So, mantras and charities, there are plenty of advices which is very difficult for us to give in here. But mantras and charity, I have given some suggestion of some Puranas in the end. But mantras have to be learned from a learned scholar because it cannot be chanted just like that at random. Another cure prescribed by our Shastras for diseases caused by planets is the performance of Homa or Havan. I call it homeopathy treatment. The Homa is conducted with certain materials as prescribed for each type of affliction. The smokes coming out of this Homa inhaled by the patient and also ingested in the atmosphere where he lives has curative effects. And also the mantras chanted for performing the Homa are also pleasing to the deities. Here I have given the materials required for performing Homas for each planet affliction and also the number of ahutis to be given for each of these. Now my advice, please do not use this prescription without expert consultation. An expert astrologer has to consult your, examine your horoscope and give you the, identify the correct reason of your disease. And also a Vedic scholar has to confirm the use of these materials and the number of houses, etc. So you have to have expert consultation of astrologer and Vaidika together for doing a Homa. This slide also continues with the same advice and the material for Homa for specific diseases. In Jyotisha and our Dharma Shastra, there are several prescriptions for Vratams. Vratas are basically fasting. There are many types of fasting. Eating once in a day, eating once after sunset only, that means during the daytime keeping fast. Stay without food for an entire day. Stay without food and water, nothing for a day. These are all various types of fasting. These are called Ega Bhakta, Nakta, Upavasa, and things like this. So these are all various things depending on the type of affliction, type of diseases, or the general condition of the horoscope, the lagna, how effective the lagna is, how strong the lagna lord is, and things like that. We can decide on the fasting for the person. Fasting is a very useful thing. According to medical science also, the Nobel winning research in 2016 suggested that the fasting even kills cancer cells in the body. So you can Google it and find it out. Yoshinori Ohsumi is the person who won his Nobel Prize for saying that fasting is good. So fasting is good has been told by the Dharma Shastras thousands of years back also. It has been identified by medical science that stress and anxiety causes diseases. Especially in the modern times, it has been a big problem of cardiac and other diseases because of stress and anxiety. So listening to music, meditation, dhyana, relieving stress, bhajan, kirtan, katha sravanam, katha parayanam, listening to somebody saying good stories about our great people and great lords. These are all part of the disease prevention and disease cure methods in our shastras. Some of the suggested chanting or listening, both Sravanam as well as Parayanam, of some parts of the Puranas is good for certain specific illnesses. Vishnu Sahasranamam can be chanted for all general illnesses. Dhanvantari Stotra for specific diseases. Sundarakandam for generally alleviating bodily pains and all types of other obstructions. Harivamsa Puranam for childlessness. Devi Mahatmya for mental problems. Illness caused by black magic and incantations can be removed by Devi Mahatmya. And there are certain passages in the Tevaram, the Tamil Shaiva book of prayers, for specifically given for each illness. Some verses have been identified. So this is a good remedy for cure as well as prevention, has been told by our shastras. So I have attempted to give you an introduction to the medical astrology, the various principles used in medical astrology. I have illustrated some of the diagnosis of diseases from ancient texts and also shown some live examples from my own life. I have given you the remedies suggested by the shastras. Believing in our shastras, leading a good life, removing our bad karmas, and by doing charities, etc., removing our past karmas also, and leading an ethical life will give you good health and long life. I wish you all very good life. Namaste.